Bienvenidas, bienvenidos, bienvenides a otra de las actividades de esta 36ª edición del Festival de Cine de Mar del Plata. Es un honor tener en el festival la posibilidad de comunicarnos, de tener una conversación para profundizar dentro de cada una de las películas a los y las cineastas que han formado parte de la selección este año, cuyas películas se están proyectando en el marco del festival. Dentro de ese esquema tenemos la posibilidad, como decía, de hablar en este caso con el director de la película Compartment 6, la película que ganó el Grand Prix en Cannes, una película que nos llena de alegría poder contar con ella, porque es puro disfrute. Esta es la segunda película del director, su primer largometraje se llama The Happiest Day in the Life of Olli Mäki, y su nombre es Juho Kuosmanen. Juho, un placer absoluto tenerte con nosotros.
Thank you. It's nice to have this possibility. I would rather be there in person, but unfortunately, this is the situation now. So, but I'm happy to have this conversation. So, thank you.
Nos encanta realmente la película, ha sido amor a primera vista, y nos encantó también descubrirla mientras la estábamos viendo, cosa que estoy seguro que le sucederá a los y las espectadoras. La película parte de una adaptación de la novela de Rosa Liksom. Contanos un poco cómo llegaste a la novela y cómo decidiste que había que adaptarla.
Rosa Liksom is a very famous Finnish author, and I've been reading her books since I was a teenager. And this book came out 2011, and I read it, and I immediately then I saw possibilities for a film, but because it's a very cinematic book, it creates strong images. It happens in a train, which is a cinematic environment, and yeah, it had lots of this kind of cinematic qualities, but at the same time, it had so much more that I was doubting that it's impossible to make to turn it into a film. But I think the main interest from the beginning was this train ride in Russia, this encounter between two strangers. It's kind of a classic film setting, so it was easy to see possibilities in it.
La idea del viaje, ¿no? Como punto de partida de historias. Y de manera inevitable el viaje habla tanto de un viaje externo, real, en un espacio físico, como también de un viaje interno, un viaje hacia el interior de cada uno de los personajes. Y creo que eso es lo que lográs fuertemente con el desarrollo de tu protagonista, que enseguida se demuestra encantadora y enseguida se empieza a ir develando como personaje y creciendo delante de la cámara. ¿Cómo fue el trabajo con el personaje y con la actriz para desarrollar el personaje?
It was really nice from the beginning. We didn't know before, but she was already part of this film 1.5 year before the shootings. So it was a moment where the script wasn't ready, the character wasn't ready, and I needed somebody to help me with the character. And then we have a common friend who suggested that I should meet Sadie. And so first of all, we just talked about the book. We talked about the script that we had, the differences, and then the kind of things that we can both understand and agree. So I think the character was, in the end, it was born somewhere like from that ground of understanding that we could create between Sadie and me. I think there's lots of hurt in the character, but there's also lots of me in the character. It's some kind of a combination of the novel, of the script, and her ideas, her presence. Obviously, it's a big part of it, and it was really important collaboration with her, and a long before the shootings. So I think it helped to create a character that has all the depth, because we had so much time to talk about it and build the character.
Es un muy buen trabajo de ambos. No de ambos, de todos, porque la verdad es que la película no tarda en meternos en ese universo frío y que va cobrando calidez a medida que avanza la narración, lo cual es algo fascinante. ¿Cómo trabajaste eso? Porque es muy llamativo a medida que el paisaje se vuelve cada vez más frío, porque el tren va recorriendo ese camino hasta un lugar extremo de frío ya cuasi polar en Rusia, y mientras se vuelve frío el paisaje, se vuelve cálida la relación entre los protagonistas. Hay una cosa de contrapunto muy bien lograda. ¿Cómo lo trabajaste?
Well, I think it's about contrast. This is we often talk about the tension, the different plot points, and kind of a narrative in a film. But I think that one of the main thing in storytelling is the contrast, because for me, film is something where you can make invisible things visible. But to make something visible, you need to have a contrast, because you don't see light without the shadows, or you don't see. I mean, everything is connected. So if you want to make something visible, you need to have something on the other side that it reflects. So in that sense, it's kind of a logic that the colder the world gets, this kind of a warmth between two main character is more visible, because the contrast makes it like more and more visible in the film. But of course, it's also the development of their relationship, how they open up and how they develop as a characters, because in the beginning they are hiding so much. They are so afraid to be seen that they are having this kind of a role of a Finnish student, a bit arrogant, and then the role of a Russian man, kind of the guy is hiding behind this stereotype of a Russian man. But then they are also like they are opening up, and the way they look each other is changing, and they're also their physical distance is getting closer and closer all the time. So I think it's that is the warmth, but the landscape, which gets colder, I think it helps.
Sí, totalmente. Y como tenés ese juego de los contrastes, también tus personajes son contrastes entre cómo los vemos de entrada y cómo van creciendo en esa construcción. Él puntualmente es muy bueno que trabaje en minería, porque es precisamente, hay que cavar para encontrar lo precioso en su personalidad, ¿no? Hay mucho también de ese trabajo de sutilezas que me parece que es muy, muy interesante en tu película. Quiero citar una de las primeras frases, si no la primera frase de la película, que me parece que es una excelente forma de definir lo que vamos a ver. parece que cómo se empieza, cómo comienza una película es súper importante. Creo que estás de acuerdo, ahora me lo decís. Y una de las primeras cosas que se escuchan es la frase: para escapar necesitas saber con firmeza no hacia dónde estás corriendo, sino cuál es tu punto de partida. Contanos un poco por qué aparece esta frase y los comienzos y todo, bueno, todo esto, por favor.
Yeah, it's there are some different reasons for that. That is actually a quote that is not from the novel, because we changed a lot from the novel, and we also changed the decade. That was one of the things. The novel happens in 80s. This happens somewhere in the late 90s, after Titanic. But otherwise, it's not really like, it's not a certain year. This quote is one of the reason for it is because it's from a book of Pelevin, which was a big hit in 90s. So it's kind of, at least for Russian people who know Pelevin, they kind of get the idea of the decade where we are, and so we were trying to find these kind of quotes that they are playing around. We had also other quotes from a different books, because it's a kind of a game of these intellectuals that are like a kind of a, I don't know, kind of a name dropping thing, or just like bragging thing. And then she's not yet there. She doesn't really know all those answers. So it's the reason for this game is to put her in a kind of a unbalanced situation with this crew. But this specific quote, I just when I found it, I liked it a lot, because I think in a way it also tells the whole story, what you are running, because I think she is escaping. She's not escaping the Moscow. She's not escaping this love affair with Irina. I think she's escaping herself, and that's something you can't really escape. That's the tragedy of life. No matter how far you go, you are always there with you, so it kind of sets the idea of acceptance of your own image. It's not conscious for her, obviously, during this trip, but I think it's that what happens during this trip, because in the it starts from a place where she would like to be part of that world. She would like to be like Irina. She would like to be like one of these Moscovian intellectuals, but she is not, and she will never be, and that's not the problem. But it is problem for herself, because she is not satisfied what she is, and she's accepting it. She's mirroring herself all the time with people who they are not better than her, but on her point of view, she's like idealizing these people and their life, and then comparing herself to this idealized idea of life, and then this journey, and then this another mirror, which is a kind of minor, mirror that is not so idealized, in a way, kind of more true and honest, but something that doesn't something that when you are watching yourself through this mirror, you are not that same of your own imperfectness. It's kind of easier to accept yourself when you are in an imperfect environment, or somebody who is also imperfect. But if you are all the time with people that you are admiring or idealizing, I think it always makes you a bit outsider and kind of lonely in that setting. Yeah, so.
Me da la impresión, por lo que leí, que no, desgraciadamente todavía no pude ver The Happiest Day in the Life of Oli Maki, pero me da la impresión de que te atraen los personajes. Voy a pelearme con los conceptos sencillos, simples, o sea, el concepto de personaje más sencillo o simple, que está siempre usado de una forma peyorativa. Me peleo un poco con ese concepto y voy a decir, elegís personajes que por ahí son personas que uno se puede cruzar en la cotidianeidad y que viven la vida enfocados en justamente su propio universo y buscando vivir la vida de la mejor forma posible, sin grandes ambiciones ni grandes búsquedas, ¿no? ¿Te interesan esos personajes?
Yes, I think ordinary people are extremely interesting because they are they are kind of a mystery. I mean, compared to big personalities that we often think that they are interesting, but they are actually pretty boring because big personalities are always the same. They are behaving the way that kind of a personality is behaving. So there's not really surprises. But I think this kind of people, what do you call them? Like people without qualities, or people without, people like ordinary people. They are very interesting because they can be whatever. There are so much things to find, and I also like. I think it has something to do with my background because most of my short films and also these feature-length films, I try to find like also non-professional actors in them in these films to get this kind of authenticity of human beings, that everything is not, it's fiction obviously, but there is this kind of at least glimpses of real life or something like that. It yeah, for me it's really fascinating. Obviously, it's I mean, when you start to talk with somebody, and then usually if you get to know them, if they start to open up, there are like lots of things they are carrying and thinking, and but usually they are invisible.
Muy bueno. Bueno, justamente esa era mi siguiente pregunta. ¿Cómo fue trabajar con... Quiero ver si puedo pronunciar los nombres. Seidi y Yurish. ¿Cómo fue trabajar con ambos?
Yeah.
Si ellos si tenían algún trabajo, alguna experiencia previa, y cómo fue el encontrarse y el construir. ¿Lo hicieron cada uno por su lado o trabajaron los tres en eso?
We worked first with Sadie, with the two of us, and then she also got to know the DOP, J.P. Passi, and then when we found Jura, I never actually worked just between me and Jura. Sadie was always there as well, and actually this moment when I found Jura, we did the audition. That was one of the crucial moments of this film, because in the novel the characters are in totally different age. The Sadie's character is so much younger, and the guy is much older. It's like around 50. year-old guy in the book. And this was also something we tried to find first. It was like this in a script when we started to do the casting. But I never really found like perfect kind of a combination. Because I was not searching a good actor, I was searching for somebody who could create this chemistry between Sadie and him. And at that moment, I was also talking about this film. I always pitched this film as a story of two totally different kind of characters that has to share this small space, and then there's no way to escape. They need to go towards each other, and then they start to see something similar in the other. But then when I saw Jura first in one Russian film called The Bull, and then I wanted him to take part in the auditioning, and it felt immediately right. I felt that this is the film I want to make. It will happen between those two. At the same time, I felt this is not the script that I have. But the script is, it's easier to change. And I think casting is so important in a film that if the casting is right, then you just change the script to match the casting if it's not matching yet. So, but it was weird because it was a strong feeling, strong intuition that this is the couple, but I don't know why, because it's so different from the script that we've been writing for many years. And then I went home and I watched this picture that I took from them, and I saw that the feeling that I got was that they are like sister and brother. They looked a bit similar. They had the same kind of, I don't know, because it was not, it was just like Jura and Sadie in the picture. It was not the characters. And I was watching like, actually, this is the film. The film is not about two totally different kind of characters. It's two exactly similar kind of characters, almost like twins. And in the beginning, we don't see these similarities because they are hidden behind these social or gender roles or whatever, and they are not showing themselves. That's why they feel so disconnected and distant and different in the beginning. And I realized that is the moment of a film where you can act this beginning, but in the end, I would like them to go as, obviously they are acting all the time because it's fiction film, but the amount of acting, the amount of kind of showing yourself and not hiding that much is totally different in the end. So after that, when I found this actors, I was quite confident with this film. We didn't really rehearse before. We talked about a script, and we also worked with the dialogue with them because it's a big part of the character, and I think that was the most we did. Basically talked, tried to find this understanding, because I think that's the main thing in directing and also in acting. You don't know how to direct or act something you don't understand. If you don't understand it, you're just doing like generic ideas. But if you understand it, then it becomes kind of more specific ways of acting, and you get more details and kind of better reactions. So yeah, during the shootings, it was not that much directing. It was just like, if something was not going right, then obviously we did some changes and adjusting. But yeah, it was fantastic to work with them. It's really their film. Like it happens so much between them. With the different casting, it would be totally different.
Efectivamente, es todo química y si bien hay personajes secundarios, hay dos protagonistas y me atrevería a decir que hay un tercer protagonista que es el tren, otro personaje en la trama, ¿no?
Yes, that's their home, like they say in the film. Yeah, the train is also, it's a very important part because it's a space which doesn't really belong to anybody. It's, you are, and it's not that, and on the other hand, it's not a vehicle where you just step in and go from place A to place B. It's really a space where you spend time, you can move around, and you are kind of sharing the situation. You're not just going to the same place, but you're actually sharing this whole atmosphere. So in a way, I believe that these kind of a long and quite slow train journeys, they are good for this kind of encounters. It makes it possible because you are facing the same, you are already sharing something when you are sharing the same train ride. Yeah.
Bien. Una de las máximas del cine, de las road movies, las películas de viajes, de carretera, si se quiere, como traducción, las películas de viaje, es que en general el viaje deja de ser importante y descubrimos qué es lo que realmente se busca en ese viaje con los personajes. Hay toda una tradición, es un subgénero, la road movie, y me gustaría que nos cuentes cuáles son algunas de tus road movie favoritas y si alguna sirvió de influencia para Compartment No. 6.
Actually, I didn't have like influence from a certain train film or travel film. I think if there was some, I watched them a lot, but just mostly for fun and to get, to set myself in the mood for a train film. And but I think from road movies and these kind of journeys, it's of course they are also the journey like towards yourself but there's also a big difference if it happens in a car or it happens in a train, because in a car you have the idea of freedom is different because it usually deals the amount of choices you have. You can always decide where to go. It's like you are running your own life. But this has a more like a fatalistic mindset because you are in a train. You don't really decide where to go. It's more about accepting that the train is slowly heading somewhere, and you just take what you get and you try to live with it. And for me that's the way to achieve kind of freedom because it comes after the acceptance of yourself and acceptance of your own existence or your life. Then without that you can't really, even though you have lots of choices, you don't, or possibilities to choose, you're not free. But the film references, I think now if I think there's like technically one of the references was actually Das Boot, the submarine film, U-93 or Das Boot. The way it is shot, that was kind of our idea. We didn't want to change the setting. We didn't want to make it wider or anything like that, because the feeling of being inside the compartment, I think in that film is very well done, and that's why we checked that. And then this kind of idea of their relationship, because it's not really like a romantic mindset. It's not like some people compare this to this sunrise, before sunrise, before film, but it's a bit different. It's a great movie, and I don't mind that people are seeing some similarities, but the relationship is totally different. And actually, what we talked about during the script writing was lost in translation, because there's also a strong connection between two characters, but it's not really a romantic. You don't really want that they fall in love or they become a couple. And then one film that is one of my big favorites from last years was The Invisible Life of Eurydice Guzmão. That film has this, it's really strong emotional, right? There is this connection between two sisters and this kind of a longing. I think the emotions that the film has was somehow influential for this film. There are no like straight connection between these two films, but it was so big thing for me to see that film that I think it somehow stayed.
Sí, esa película, esta última que nombrás, La vida invisible de Eurydice Guzmão, formó parte del festival también, película de Compartment No, película que amamos profundamente. Y sí, hay un poco de ella, y hay más de Lost in Translation que Before Sunrise, sin lugar a duda. Que sí, es una comparación fácil solo por el hecho de que haya trenes en el medio, pero la historia y todos los personajes van sin lugar a duda por otro lado. Y leí alguna vez en algún lugar esa comparación con la cual estoy muy peleado. Supongo vos, bueno, recién decías que no te molesta, pero hay que pelearse con esa comparación, porque la película es otra cosa, es otra propuesta precisamente. Y creo que ahí reside lo interesante de tu película, en las diferencias que tiene, ¿no? Contanos un poco para ir cerrando, ¿en qué estás? ¿Cuáles son tus nuevos proyectos? Lo que se pueda contar, por supuesto. O si estás disfrutando de la vida de gira con la película, a pesar de estos protocolos y estas situaciones que nos mantienen alejados.
Well, I should be working, but I'm mostly traveling with this film, and to be honest, even though at the moment I'm in an incredible place in the Sintra in Portugal, but still I have difficulties to enjoy this time, because I don't really have time to see anything. I'm visiting different places, and I'm going lots of film festivals, but I don't really see the places, and I don't really see any films. So I'm mostly just talking about my own own films. Of course, I'm really happy that it's well, I read the book 10 years ago, and now I have a film ready made. I'm happy that it's so well received, and I can talk about it. That's not the case, but yeah, I'm actually waiting that I could start already working on new films as well. I have lots of ideas, but they are so early stage. I can't really. There's nothing to mention. If I say something, I'm sure it doesn't happen.
Sí, por eso, no hay que quemarlo, como decimos acá. Y sí, no te preocupes, Juho, acá solo tenemos 2 horas más de conversación. así te prohibimos que sigas conociendo Portugal. No, al contrario, llegamos al fin. Un gusto, un placer realmente. Te deseamos lo mejor con la película, que ha sido la película seleccionada por Finlandia para representarla en los Oscars. La mejor de las suertes ahí, la mejor de las suertes con todo el recorrido de la película, y esperamos poderte tener presente en una edición no muy lejana aquí con nosotros en Argentina.
It would be great. It's we also share a lot with Finnish mindset and Argentinian mindset, and we are both countries. The tango is the thing, and according to Finnish people, it's a Finnish thing that you copied. So we can talk about it more when I'm there. we can listen some original tango then.
Busquemos sin duda las raíces. Ahí tenés una película, ¿eh? Ahí tenés una película y la excusa para venir acá a filmar también. Lo único que te pido es que no bailemos el tango porque soy un desastre. Pero vamos a buscar nuestro mejor y nuestra mejor bailarina para desafiarlos a ustedes, sin lugar a dudas. Aceptamos el desafío, Juho, no te tenemos miedo.
Yeah, it's a bit different tango, but yeah, we can compare.
Sí, hemos escuchado tangos de tu tierra, los instrumentos de cuerda están más presentes, es otra cosa, pero es la misma cosa, y la discusión que bien planteas, ¿no?
Yeah.
Ya te digo, ya tenés una película. Buscamos inversores por acá. Bueno, nuevamente, un gusto tenerte con nosotros.
Thank you. It was a nice talk. Thank you.
Lo mismo, un placer. Sigan, por favor, disfrutando de esta 36ª edición del Festival de Cine de Mar del Plata. No se pierdan todo lo que tiene el festival para ofrecer. Gracias.